Okay, I think you can hear me. You've been hearing all kinds of crazy typing because I think we're live. Let me just double check. Yep, yep, yep. Oh, I had to take these out. Oh, don't need those. Don't need those. Well, hello, all you early birds. You always get to see all the craziness. Like, oh my gosh, is it gonna work? Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Joan is here from New Zealand early morning on Thursday. Okay, I won't say happy Wednesday for you, Joan, then. It's Thursday for you. I think you can see me and you can hear me. Oh. Now you can see me. Now you can see me. There we are. All right. How many of these have we done? We've been doing this for a couple of years, and every single month, it's just a scramble. This month's excuse was new computer, new software. Oh, well, just that's what keeps me young, right? Patricia's here, and Sheila's here, and Jenny's here from North Wales. Welcome, 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 welcome. Gervais been here since the beginning, and Gervais, thank you so much. I know we've been struggled for a little bit, but we're okay. We're good now, I think. Yes? Yay! Woohoo! Cynthia is here. 140 events, Matt. Oh my gosh, 140 times, and you think it would be this easy to get this thing together. It isn't for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know why. Well, new computer. I've got two cameras set up actually. We're going to try something just for fun. In the future, I might try something different now that I can use two cameras. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Let's go back to the real one here, to the good camera. All right, get the microphone out of the way, Sue. Let me just try a couple of things before we get started, and I want to make sure that you can see what I've got planned here. Righty, so we've got some stuff there. This is my outlines because I can never remember what I'm going to talk about next. We've got some information here and the wrong desktop. I need to get a different desktop going here. Hold on just a sec. So we're going to do that. That. Okay. Now you can see my screen, I think. So I think we're good. I went to the different camera. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Joy. You know what? I'm not going to go to that camera then. The heck with it. Yeah. Actually, I'm just going to turn that camera off so that doesn't happen again. I actually had that there just in case my good camera crapped out, but I think we're going to be okay. Sherry's here. Thanks, Joy, for that. Great. All right, so give me just 1 second. And I will be right back and we'll get this show on the road. Well, hello there. Welcome to the March live event. We never came up with a really good name for this. Knit Club, March Knit Club Live, whatever. Thank you all for being here. It's been 140 different times we've tried this, and I'm so glad that you've joined us. We do have the chat window available. If you have questions, comments, anything, tell me if, my hair's sticking up, whatever, let me know in the chat. If you're new here, please let me know that you're new, and I'd love to give you a special shout out. If you ask a question in the chat and I miss it, please contact me afterwards, just Sue at Knit It Now, and I'm more than happy to answer questions or talk to you about machine knitting. Before we get started, I want to give a very special shout out to a very dear friend of mine, Shelley. This is for you, Shelley. Shelley's been going through some really hard things lately, and I just want to let her know that I love you, and you've got lots of people here that share your love of knitting and wish you the very best. And for anybody else here who's struggling, I also want to give you one of these. Let's put it all aside right now. Let's talk about machine knitting. Let's forget all the awful stuff that's going on in the world and maybe some of the crazy things that are going on in our lives. Talk about machine knitting. So let's get started. We've got Tina here from Norway. Thank you. And Linda and Alessandra from Connecticut. Thanks, Jenny. Timer is still showing. Oh, of course. There we go. There we go. It wouldn't be alive if something didn't go crazy, but so far we're good. All right, we got lots of folks here. Thank you again for being here. Today we want to talk about patterns, and the three things I really want to talk about are sleeve choices. We've been working very, very hard on patterns, and I want to share with you where we are and also share with you where we're looking to go, where we're planning to go. Started from a conversation that I had with a knitter who had a pattern, a hand knitting pattern that she wanted to convert. She really loved this hand knitting pattern, and it was very simple style. It was just a round neck, set in sleeve, very simple style, but there was only one size in the pattern. So as we're talking, she's in her mind's going 100 miles an hour, and she's saying, the pattern is in only one size, and it's 3 inches too small for me, so I'm going to have to cast on more stitches, and I'm going to have to figure out the neckline, and she's going down the whole rabbit hole, and I'm going, wait, time out. Why not just use a Knit It Now pattern? All this sweater was a round neck, set in sleeve. And after the light bulb came on, we had this conversation, and hopefully she's knitting it as we speak. Made me think that there may be many knitters who are in that same boat, are taking the hard way towards getting patterns. So let's talk about sleeve choices. Our sleeve sweater patterns are basically, they're almost always the same, right? You get this rectangle that goes around your body. You cut out some holes for your armhole. You cut out a hole for your neck, and then you stick some sleeves in there. Well, sticking some sleeves in there is the key. I'm going to talk about 5 different, very common armhole sleeve combinations and the pros and cons of each. So the first one I'd like, simple, drop shoulder. Now, I'm sure we're all familiar with this particular style, drop shoulder sweater or shirt or anything. There's no armhole, right? There's no sleeve cap. This is about the simplest knitting that you can do. Great place for a beginner to start. Great place if you're in a hurry and just don't want to think or mess with anything. It's also great for a really casual sweater. Now, you can knit those sleeves. One of the nice things about this, you can knit the sleeves from the bottom up, from the cuff up, or you can knit the sleeves and make the knitting even faster by knitting that sleeve from the top down. Again, it's really casual styling. And sometimes, however, one of the negatives of this particular style is that there's bulk in the underarm. You got lots of fabric going on under there, right? So that's one negative of this particular one. And the other, not a negative, but something to consider with sleeves in general, is a drop shoulder. Let me show you one. I got one here for you. Here's a drop shoulder sweater, and you're not seeing it. Sorry. There you go. There you are. There's a drop shoulder sweater, right? So this thing is just hanging off his shoulder. He's got some garter stitch there in the body of the sweater, and you can see that sleeve is hanging a couple of inches down from where his shoulder, the turn of the shoulder to the arm is. Casual style. You can make it for anybody as long as it goes around their body, right? It doesn't matter how wide their shoulders are or how narrow their shoulders are. It's designed to just kind of hang off the shoulder. You might think it's sloppy. I don't know. You got your pros and cons. You've got easy knitting, and you've got a fit that looks like this. Okay, I'm reading comments here. I'm going to get distracted. Oh my gosh, squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. Alrighty, so the next thing I want to show you, the next sleeve type is modified drop shoulder. So you take that same idea of easy knitting, top down, bottom up sleeve, right? But you cut out a little bit in that underarm. And it just gets rid of some of that bulk in the underarm. Now, a little bit more complicated knitting. So if you're brand new, and I can't imagine that you're going to take on a sweater and not know how to bind off, but maybe. All it is just some binding off in that underarm. So again, very simple knitting, very easy to fit. That wherever that seam is on the shoulder, it doesn't matter, right? It's very casual. That seam can just kind of hang off the shoulder. It doesn't matter how wide your shoulders are or how narrow your shoulders are. The sweater is going to fit according to this particular style. Now, the only, not a negative, but something to consider with this style of sweater is the construction. And if you can see the green lines, if you were going to knit this sleeve from the top down, you would pick up the green line, you would join the shoulder, pick up the front and the back armhole, knit your sleeve down. And I don't know if you can see the little yellow lines, but the yellow lines then would match up. You've got a straight section on the sleeve, you've got a bind off section on the body, and you can just seam those together or do so as you go or whatever you want. But you can see that comparing that to a regular drop shoulder, you get a little less bulk in the underarm. So there's a real benefit here. Alrighty, we got some more hellos here. Cynthia, yes, Cynthia, you're here new, and I'm so glad you were able to join us. Who else is here? Anybody else new? Sandra from Orlando. Patricia says her knitting room is her haven from crazy. You know what? Let's just all adopt that, right? We're going to turn the world off when we come into our knitting rooms. Julie from Minnesota. Welcome, Julie. I'm so glad to see you. Lynn from Texas and Pat from Nova Scotia. Laura's got a new Titaxma machine, and she had a conversation with her husband when it arrived. I sneak mine in the back door when they come. All righty. Haley from North Lincolnshire in the UK. Derbyshire. Okay, I'm going to say these all wrong. Is it Derbyshire? Derbyshire? Ugh, such an American here. Anne from England. That I can say, Anne. Kathy agrees that drop shoulder sweaters are sloppy. That's personal preference. You know, we let you knit whatever you want. Pamela from Texas. Oh, we got so many people here. Yay! Nancy from Kansas. Yay, thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh my gosh, I could be here all afternoon. Nancy from Florida. Elspa. Oh my gosh, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. All right, sleeves. So we talked about two sleeves. Drop shoulder, easy knitting, kind of sloppy. Modified drop shoulder, maybe not as sloppy, still easy knitting. The third type of sweater or armhole is raglan. Now you take those you don't have any worry about where that sleeve seam hits. There is no top of your shoulder seam. It's just straight knitting. And what's cool about raglans is that they have that neat diagonal seam that gives you lots of opportunity for some design elements, right? You can do a fancy seam in that a diagonal seam, fancy increases and decreases. You can knit raglans from the top down, which hand knitters love. I still don't understand, but I'm not going to go there. But you can knit raglans from the top down or the bottom up. What other? It's also comfy fit. And you know what was really interesting? I'm in the process of doing, let's see if I can show it here. On the homepage at Knit It Now, I'm in the process of doing a little survey, and I hope you guys will take time to give me your opinion of these 5 different sleeve styles. Which one do you prefer? So far, we've had some responses: drop shoulder, set in sleeve, and raglans. Isn't that interesting? I find that really, really interesting that the raglans are so popular. So raglan is our third method. Now, one of the negatives, and I'm not going to go off base on this too much, but one of the problems with raglans is they are very, very, very difficult to chart. And you have to be very careful with the pattern that you choose to use. Many times you will find raglan patterns that are done in one size. And there's a reason for that, because they're so hard to chart. Design It does a great job with raglans. It can get a little complicated using Design It with raglan sweaters. Again, I won't go into it. We have a few, but we have found them very difficult to do in our dynamic patterns. We've tried many, 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 many times. I'm considering doing a workshop on charting raglan sweaters. Something that's kind of off in the future a little bit. If you're interested, let me know. It's going to be a lot of work for you. Not for me so much. For me putting it together, yes, but it's not going to be a workshop where you're going to just sit and watch. You're going to need to do a lot of math. You're going to need that calculator handy. You're going to need maybe a spreadsheet handy, whatever. So if it's something you're interested in, let me know. Let's get back to raglans. Let's see. Which is the easiest to start with? Cynthia, is a drop shoulder sweater. Drop shoulder or square armhole. Either one, easy, easy, easy. You're just getting started. You can spend your time working on your neckline. You can spend your time, in your hems and your sizing and all the other stuff, and not so much time on your sleeves. So drop shoulder, modified drop shoulder, or square, those are the best. Nancy says, I love raglan, fancy increases or decreases, but she uses a knit leader. Thanks, Nancy. Didn't even consider that. Knit leader is another way to get yourself a good raglan pattern. Okay, enough about that. Round yokes, yes, round yokes are another choice, absolutely. A lot of people will knit round yokes. They'll knit the round yoke by hand so that they can incorporate all the fancy fair isle that they want, and then pick up the sleeves and the body and knit them on the machine. So that's another way of incorporating round yokes with machine knitting. Eleanor from Yucca Valley, California. Rachel, and I know a lot of people love round yokes. And again, find yourself a round yoke pattern, knit the top by hand, knit the rest by machine, and you're golden. I know there are people who knit them by machine, and God love you. It's not something I'm going to tackle. Thank you so much for this. What would the best sleeve be for a chunky, bulky hand knit sweater? Let's say when I wouldn't do a set-in sleeve, just because there's a lot of shaping involved, and I just in my brain thinking a really bulky set-in sleeve and trying to set that sleeve into that armhole. I would probably raglan would be good. Drop shoulder, modified drop shoulder, depends on what you like. Layla from Denmark, welcome. Linda says drop shoulders, great for kids sweaters. Absolutely, absolutely. Raglan help. Okay, we'll talk about this. Okay, let's move on to the next type of sleeve that I want to talk about just real quickly here. Set-in sleeve. I mentioned set-in sleeve just a minute ago. This is probably the hardest. Well, somebody may disagree with me, but in my opinion, set-in sleeves are probably the hardest. If you are brand new, please, 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 please don't start your first sweater with a set-in sleeve. And the reason being is there's a lot going on. So your armhole has shaping, right? So you're going to bind off and you're going to decrease a few stitches. Okay, so maybe that's not so bad. But that sleeve cap, if your pattern is written correctly, should have some really, really nice shaping to it. And I don't have one here. Picture a sleeve cap from a set-in sleeve. You're going to decrease the underarm, right? And then you're going to go back out a little bit, and then you're going to come around and you're going to make that nice rounded top. You got some shaping going on. And not hard? No, it's not hard at all. You got to keep your wits about you. And you don't want stair steps. So there's another knitting technique that you have to have mastered. You want to maybe use some short rows when you can so that you can get a nice curve and not all this ugly stair steps and stuff. But okay, so let's say that you can knit this thing and you can knit the armhole. If you've got a good pattern, that sleeve should fit into that armhole perfectly. If your gauge is correct, that sleeve should fit into the armhole correctly. If your gauge is not correct, think about it. If your gauge, you're putting stitches to rows here, right, as you're setting the sleeve cap in. So your gauge's got to be spot on so that sleeve cap fits right into the armhole. Think about when you're sewing. If you are doing a set-in sleeve when you're sewing, and for some silly reason your sleeve cap doesn't match the armhole, you're going to have lots of extra fabric to kind of work in. So you could have a gathered top, I suppose, right? And gathers at the top of your sleeve. The point I'm making is, if you're a beginner knitter, please don't start with set-in sleeves. But set-in sleeves fit so beautifully. They are, again, they're classic styling. You don't have a bunch of bulk here. Well, you can't see me, but set-in sleeves eliminate a lot of the bulk here. Because they're shaped nicely, they're not just a straight line like a drop shoulder, right? So you've got all this nice fit going on. Also, the sleeve seam should sit right where the corner of your arms are, right? Where your arm starts hanging down from your shoulder. Traditional set-in sleeves fit. That's another plus for knitting set-in sleeves. The finishing on set-in sleeves can be a challenge, right? How do you set that? Now you got that nice sleeve cap, right? But you're putting a curve against a straight edge. It takes practice. There's lots and lots of methods. Some knitters will even pick up their armhole and knit their sleeve cap down from the top. We have a video in the Learning Library about that. Might be something you want to try. We have a whole classroom on sleeves, and we also have a course on sleeves, set-in sleeves. So if it's something you're interested in and want to study more, we've got some resources for you. So set-in sleeves, classic styling, more shaping, more knitting skills needed, more complicated finishing, but I really, really have a beautiful, beautiful fit. Set-in sleeves. Nancy gives us a tip. When you are knitting a set-in sleeve, mark your center stitch. So you're knitting that cap and you've got that nice curve going on and you're ready to bind off those top stitches. You got that center, mark that center stitch. That center stitch should match up with your the top of your shoulder, where your front and backs join, that seam. So that way you've got your rounded cap going evenly on both sides. Great tip, Nancy. Thank you. Jenny says, my problem with set-in sleeves is attaching the sleeve to the body. Everybody, Jenny, struggles with that. And we do have the course, and I believe there's a video on that specifically. I personally like to crochet my sleeve caps in, my set-in sleeve caps in. I've done that even before I was machine knitting. You slip stitch it in and you open it up. Oh, that didn't work. And it's easy to pull those stitches out. I love, 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 love that technique. Another way of setting sleeve caps in is to sew them in, stitch them in with a back stitch, right? Harder to rip out if you make a mistake. Just another idea. Again, some folks will pick up their sleeve cap and seam it on the machine. Just like you would seam two seams together. Hang your armhole, hang your sleeve cap maybe half at a time, bind off, the other half of the sleeve cap, bind off. So take a look for the videos on that. We did quite a bit of work on that. I think we did a knit along on sit-in sleeves at one time, so there's quite a bit there. Rachel said, I taught to divide sleeve cap into thirds when you're seaming it in. That works too, whatever works for you. Rachel's asking, is design and knit good for set-in sleeves? Yes, if you don't mess them up. Design and knit gives you a lot of power and a lot of ways of changing things, and it's very, very easy to mess up your set-in sleeves. I'm not going to even go there, but in general, you're going to get lots of opinions on that subject. But in general, sure, yeah, they have good set-in sleeves. Beverly says, do you do a circular yoke dynamic pattern? No, Beverly, we do not, and we probably will not. The reason being, the way we do our patterns, it would be impossible for me to, you're not going to want to knit one in one color. I can guarantee that, right? You're going to want to put a stitch pattern in that yoke, and it's just not something that we can incorporate in a dynamic pattern. Mary from North Carolina, welcome. Oh, Scott, welcome, welcome, welcome. Maury. New glasses and all. Ooh, you can see us, Maury. Hi. Someone says they're knitting a drop shoulder because she has a tricky pattern. You know, that's another reason for knitting a drop shoulder. Gosh, you know, you're knitting in lace, right? Do you really want to shape a sleeve cap in lace? I got a lot going on with the lace there, right? Or you're hand manipulating. Maybe a drop shoulder or a modified drop shoulder is just what you need. You're going to get a beautiful sweater with that beautiful technique, and you're not going to have any tears over it. Okay, and Linda, I think Linda's talking about a circular sweater. She's knitting the body of the sweater using one of our patterns, and then she's going to pick up the stitches and knit her round yoke. So, or you could do it top down too. That's great. Sherry says, I have a brother learning to knit garments book that suggests you should place markers on your sleeves and your garment body after you finish the armhole shaping to help match when sewing together, as well as a center mark for the sleeve cap. You know, the more markers you can place, the better. Anything that you can do to help yourself. If you're practicing, okay, I won't go there. Practice sleeve caps. We've got a practice pattern. Do a mini. Just do a mini and follow along. And it really, really helps. You got it. Scott says sewing them in works great. You know, you got more skill than I do, Scott. Mary says hang half at a time, latch tool off, then release the finished half and knit the second half. So she's knitting, she is attaching her set-in sleeves on the machine. Terry, hello. Griselle from Wisconsin. Cynthia, I don't understand your question. Lace probably would not be that bulky with lace. I'm not necessarily talking about it being bulky. I'm talking about it just, you got a lot going on when you're working lace. And do you want to shape a rounded set-in sleeve? I'm sure there are tons of you out there who are much more skilled than I am, who would pull it off without a hitch. I'm lazy. All righty. So set-in sleeves, classic, classic, classic. Let me see. Here we got the next one. Here's an example. Oh, I'm going to get on my soapbox about this one. Here's an example. If you look really closely at this sweater, and if you look at the pattern, this is a set-in sleeve sweater. But look where the heck that seam is sitting on her shoulder. Oh my gosh. Come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. To me, set-in sleeve shoulder should be at the shoulder, not hanging. So this is a really casual, loose jacket, and I get it, but good grief, if that seam's going to hang off your shoulder, why bother setting in a sleeve? Why don't you just do a drop shoulder? It'd be done quicker. Okay, Cynthia, you're absolutely right. I mentioned the drop shoulder having some bulk under here. And yes, if you're knitting in lace, you're not going to have as much bulk, right? You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I was thinking more in terms of setting and knitting a sleeve cap if you're working in lace or some complicated stitch pattern. All right. So I'll get off my soapbox about this. Just something to consider when you're choosing a sleeve style. Is this going to be a big, bulky cardigan that's just going to hang off your shoulders? Well, geez, why bother with a set-in sleeve? Just my opinion. Here's a variation of a set-in sleeve. These are saddle shoulders. Now, these are something that we're talking about incorporating at Knit It Now. We have not. We started it a couple of times and got squirreled and didn't create a set-in sleeve sweater. A saddle shoulder sweater, but saddle shoulder is just set-in sleeve, and where the top of that sleeve is joined, so you're going to have, some stitches here that you bind off, and instead of binding them off, you just continue knitting and bring that panel up all the way to the neckline. Let's go back to that picture. So you see that little tab? So your pattern will adjust. Your fronts and your backs will be a little shorter, because you're moving the seam, right? And you're adding. The advantage to saddle shoulder is you can do some really cool things with stitch patterning. Put a cable up that middle of that sleeve, carry it all the way up over your shoulder, all the way to your neckline. So saddle shoulders are really, really fun style. And we hope to have a saddle shoulder pattern one of these days. Here's the reason I brought up saddle shoulders is Susan Guagliumi has a book that she published a number of years ago, and it's called Knitting Saddle Style. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. You can get it, I believe, directly from Susan or on Amazon or wherever. This is a great, great, great book. And one of the many reasons I love this book is that it's a hand knitting book. I will warn you, it is a hand knitting book, but she took the last chapter of the book and she gave a nod to machine knitters, because we all know she's a machine knitter, and she's given you tips and tricks on how you can knit those patterns on the knitting machine. As a matter of fact, I test knit one of those patterns for that book, for Knit Picks, and it's just an excellent book, and she's got lots of cool suggestions in there and really different styles. So it's called Knitting Saddle Style, and I really encourage you to look for that one. Okay, Mary's asking about the square armhole, how to put in the armhole, and how to add top down. We had that. Let me jump back to that. Let me get back to that. Here it is. So this would be a square armhole. You could knit this top down by picking up the green line, which is the armhole of the body, front and back. Knit your sleeve all the way down, and then join these yellow lines. I hope that answers your question, Mary. I believe there is a video on this. I'll make a note to myself to make sure it's in the show notes. The name of the book is Knitting Saddle Style. And again, I'll put that in the show notes with a link. Alessandra's doing saddle shoulder now with a lace insert. Ooh, pretty, pretty, pretty. Okay. Okay, we've got some other, anybody else got anything else they want to talk about? Again, if I miss something in the notes, please, please, please just contact me after and I can share with, whatever you want to talk about. So sleeve choices. This is the basis of what I wanted to talk about today. I want to give you permission to kind of open your mind when you're looking out at ready to wear or you're looking at hand knitting patterns. Start to examine what kind of sleeve it is. Start to look at what you wear. What is it that you like? What's comfortable for you? And then make your decisions on what patterns you're going to knit based on that. Your skill level, your patience level, and your fit. Well, what is it that you want? Tina says she loves Susan's book. It is a little dated, absolutely, but most of those styles that she's showing are classic, just classic styles. And just picture it however you want to update it, make it closer fit, use more updated yarns, whatever. But it is a good book. Okay, alrighty. Let's change gears here. 2022 is the year for Knit It Now to get a facelift. And we've worked on the site itself. We've gotten lots of good response on the changes we've made. All of it was because of suggestions that you made, and we thank you for that. We're always open. You find something difficult, something that doesn't work, whatever, please let us know. But 2022 is also going to be the year of patterns for Knit It Now. We started close to 12 years ago. I was looking back at some files, and I have files dated 2008 in working towards patterns. Just a little bit of background, patterns were where Knit It Now started. I wrote patterns for yarn that I was selling and quickly found that knitters needed more help. They wanted more instruction than cast on 40 stitches, knit 20 rows, bind off, and decrease 1 stitch every 2 rows 4 times. For a lot of knitters, that instruction wasn't enough. So our whole learning library started. And that's where we are here. Fast forward to 2022, learning library, patterns, and patterns are getting a makeover. It's going to be a long process. It's going to be a year-long process. You probably will not see everything converted until later this year, honestly. It's a tremendous, tremendous project. But we've got a really good start, and I want to share with you what we've started. I have a free pattern for you that I want you to take a look at and tear apart. Tell us what you think and work with it. You don't have to knit the thing. I just want you to read it and look at what we're doing and tell us if we're on the right track and tell us if things make sense to you. So let's go to Knit It Now. All right. The pattern that I'm going to work with is called Strawberry, brand new patterns, kids pattern. Let's knit it now. Try typing standing up, /strawberry. There it is. All right. You'll notice that I am in as myself and I am a member, so I have this pattern, which gives me a little bit different rights to use these patterns. I have unlimited use of all my patterns. If I was not a member, I would have some limits to my use. I can have 3 builds of my pattern. I'll talk about what a build is, and a few other things that you'll see that are different, but let's just talk about the pattern itself. This is in my library. So I went to knititnow.com/strawberry because I knew the name of it. I could also go to patterns, my patterns, look down the list or search and find the pattern. So here it is in my library, and I have one that I've already built. And when I talk about building, that's kind of an odd term. But remember, Knit It Now patterns, you create it. I don't create it for you. I don't sit and type the thing and print it out and stick it in an envelope and mail it to you. No, 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 no. Ain't going to happen. You create, you build your own patterns. Let's take a minute right now just to talk about how Knit It Now patterns are different. You're going to see this any machine, any yarn, any stitch pattern. I must type and write this and speak this 100 times. The whole idea behind our patterns is that I'm not going to stand here and tell you, you must match my gauge. You must use my yarn, you must use my machine, and you must match my gauge. That's the old-fashioned way. No, 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 I'm not going to do that. Knit It Now patterns allow you to do whatever you want, and we do the math for you. So again, it's your gauge, your style choices. We talked about sleeve styles. You can have drop shoulder. You can have set-in sleeves. You use your measurements, not mine. I'm not telling you that you need to knit it at 44.25. Knit it at 45 if you want. Whatever. Don't get your calculator out. You don't need to. Another thing, a pet peeve of mine are abbreviations. Years ago, patterns were published in magazines. They had limited space, and they shoved as much as they could into that limited space. And remember, a pattern in a magazine took up valuable real estate. The purpose of the magazine was to sell stuff, to sell advertising. So the patterns were kind of secondary to that advertising. And they had all these crazy abbreviations, and there was never any standardization. The only abbreviation I think you're going to find is RC for row counter. And I really make a point of that. And then, as I mentioned, also knitting help. This is somewhere that we're moving towards even more than we have now, knitting help. If I tell you to cast on 22 stitches, I am not going to say knit 1 by 1 ribbing for 3 inches. I'm not. You might choose to do that, and I can give you some instructions for that. You might choose to do a hung hem. We'll give you some instruction for doing a hung hem. So it's a combination of here are the numbers, and here is some knitting help. That's the whole enchilada as far as Knitting Now patterns are concerned. Terry says, talking about streaming a knit along, probably not, Terry. Let me think about my response to that, okay? Laura's got that. Betty just ordered the book. Okay, great. Okay, let's move on. So what were we talking about here? Our Knit It Now patterns are different. So let's go back and build a pattern. You'll notice on my page here, this is my library, and I've already built one. Because I'm a member and I have unlimited access to my patterns, I can just delete this one out. It's like, oops, wait, nah, I'm not going to use that one again. I'm done with it. I'm over it. And it deletes it out. Let me go back here. I'm sorry. This button says perfect fit your garment. Also up here in the right hand corner there is a video on how to use this pattern. The images may be a little bit different now that we're changing things, but the concept of how to use Knit It Now patterns, please, if you've not used our patterns and you're interested, please watch that video. Perfect fit your garment. Perfect fit your garment. I'm going to say it one more time. Perfect fit your garment. Build your garment. This is new. This page is going to look a little different if you've used our patterns before. You'll notice that the sizes are now listed on the garment piece. The shape of the garment, what I chose, strawberry, is a square armhole. The sizes are listed right here. You can choose a size, but people get crazy with these numbers. So the numbers say 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. There are people who think that that's an age group. Okay, but my 8-year-old may be smaller than your 8-year-old. Okay, I'm not going to go there. So instead of worrying about those numbers, those letters, these, let me get there. This 246 could say blue, purple, green, orange, chartreuse. Those are just titles. What's really important is the size. So if you think that a 6-year-old, if you think that a 6-year-old is 28 inches around, the finished sweater size should be 28 inches around, then you would choose this size. When you choose that size, all of the sizes, the defaults for that pattern are here now on an image. No more A, B, C, D, E, F, none of that stuff. The actual size that the finished garment is going to be is shown here on this image on the right. And this red box is going to go away, so this will be a little easier for you to see, but I just want you to know that you've chosen 28.5 finished garment measurement. Now you'll be able to change all this, but we'll get back to that. So the next big change is we currently have a lollipop cardigan and a lollipop pullover. Okay, we've done away with that on some of our basic patterns, and now you can choose cardigan or pullover, and we'll just have a lollipop. Just like right now, we just have a strawberry. You can choose pullover or cardigan. See little buttons on that garment there. And you'll notice that as I make the choice, the image on the right here is changing. Your second choice could be round neck or V-neck. Defaults to round neck, but if you want a V-neck, go ahead and create a V-neck for yourself. You're building this. You are making your choices. And then the other common choice is to shape your shoulders or not, whichever you like. So that was step one, choose your size. Choose your size based on what your finished measurements, you want them to be. Second choice is to choose your style. And the third is to enter your gauge. Got to tell us get your gauge is, not mine. So let's say 16 and 24, and I'm going to build my pattern. Now this first message comes up and it gives you an idea of your body piece is going to be 57 needles. So if somehow you're knitting or you're creating a pattern and it comes up and it says you need 210 needles, well, that ain't gonna work, right? So you need to rethink your design or rethink your size or whatever. We try to give you a little warning in advance, but I always want you to read the pattern through and make sure how many needles there's gonna be. I had a gal the other day who didn't have enough needles for her sleeves, so she's going to slit it down and make her sleeves in two sides, put a pretty decorative border down there. She's golden. All right, so let's go back to this. So we're going to build the pattern now. So what we've done is we've told the engine, I want a size 6, I want a pullover, I want a V-neck, and I want shaped shoulders. My gauge is 16 and 24, and I'm going to build my pattern, and there it is. I'm not going to get too much into the pattern itself. This is still part of a work in progress, but you'll see that we've also now put the dimensions on the image. No more A, B, C, D, E, and trying to figure out what numbers go where. They're right there on the diagram. This has got a 5-inch neck opening. This has got a 3-inch deep neck opening. You know what? I really wanted that to be a little bit deeper than 3 inches. So I'm going to go back and edit my pattern. I'm going to modify the pattern. This time when I open it up, it's telling me all of those dimensions right here and giving me the opportunity to make changes. So I'm going to do my neck opening. I want my front neck depth to be 4 inches, not 3. And you'll notice that it changed here on the image as well. When I rebuild my pattern, my neck depth is going to be 4 inches. I want my wrist to be a little larger. I maybe make it 10 inches. I don't want that coming in. So my wrist is now 10 inches. When I build my pattern, all those changes will be, all the math will be done for you. My neckline will be 4 inches down instead of 3, and all those changes will be made. If I wanted to use those same dimensions again and make it a cardigan, no problem. Just click the cardigan button. If I want to make it a round neck, click the round neck button, and we do the math for you. So again, I really hope that you will take a look at Strawberry, especially the building the pattern part, and tell me what you think. Think if it makes sense. We're trying to keep it as simple as possible. 1, 2, 3, and oh, by the way, if you want to change the sizes, go right ahead. Change the sizes all you want. Okay, so let me go here. So Cynthia, you mentioned sizing. I will mention. I don't think I mentioned what we did for our kids sizing. Kids sizing has always been kind of a thorn in our side. I made some choices early on as to our sizing charts, and I know a lot of people disagreed with our sizing charts. So we are now, our new kids patterns, which are going to be the first new ones we're going to release, are now based on the Craft Yarn Council's standards, and those will be our new kids sizing standards. So, and we'll be sticking with Craft Yarns Council standards. Yeah, our adult patterns, our sizings were fine, I think. It was the kids that were always a little bit of a thorn in our side. So our kid sizing patterns, is part of this update is our kid sizing patterns. Having the actual numbers on the schematic absolutely makes so much more sense, doesn't it? There's no translating. Well, A is what and A is what. None of that stuff. All right. Right. Sherry, if you want to talk to me about that knit along, let's please contact me offline because I'm struggling a little bit with knit alongs as to how to make them the most useful for the most people. And so just let me know. Please contact me and anybody else about knit alongs. If you'd like to contact me privately, we can talk, we can email, whatever. Because knit alongs are something that I want to continue to do, but I want to make them as useful to as many people as I can. Alrighty, so did we, okay, future plans. Oh, we're running out of time here. Future plans. I think I covered some of this. Right now, this pattern, we're looking at building patterns. Does this make sense? Does having numbers on the schematics work? Whatever, are the buttons in the right places? The buttons are right, whatever, just let us know. Please take a look at Strawberry, knititnow.com/strawberry, and see what you think. And if you'd like to look at the pattern itself, that's next on the list. I want to add more help to our patterns. We're going to standardize the help on our patterns. All of our patterns will be standard sizes. So even though I created a kids pattern 10 years ago and I created one 2 years ago, they should be the same size, wouldn't you think? Well, maybe yes, maybe no. So moving forward with the adult sizes, especially misses, our aqua should be the same size as whatever the others are. So you're going to see some changes there. Any patterns that you have now, they'll either be retired and you'll get a new pattern, or the change will happen and we'll send out an errata and let you know what the differences are. So all of these changes will be with the least amount of impact to you, but hopefully they'll be good changes for you to use our patterns in the future. Terry, I'd love it. Love it. Just stay with us, Terry, because we got more stuff coming. Shane in Nashville, welcome. Shane, glad you're here. So Marjorie says, if you need more needles, can you build it in the pattern, the image? Do you just have to budget once you have built the pattern? If you know you need more needles, you build it into the pattern, you have to fudge it once you have to build the pattern. There's two ways you can go. I build a pattern, and at my gauge, the engine says I need 205 needles. Okay? I would go back, rebuild my pattern, and change the bust measurement or the cast-on measurement by half an inch or an inch or whatever it would take to get it down to 200 needles. Then the pattern will be right when it's that close, right? Or I would change my gauge, reestablish what my stitch gauge is, and change my stitch gauge just a hair to make the difference for having the number of needles. Now, if I say I have 200 needles on my needle bed and my upper arm is larger and it's taking more, 200 is ridiculous, but you know what I'm saying? If for some reason it's a big number, you might consider using one of our patterns that have the seam either down the front and the back so that you have enough stitches to go around your body in 4 panels, or we have a pattern that has a panel in the center front and underarm panels, again, 4 panels so that you have enough needles to go around your body. I hope that answers your question, Marjorie. Will they still include rows and increases and decreases? I'm not sure, Linda, but the knitting instructions aren't going to change much. We're looking at doing some really cool stuff that will give you some different charts, so it'll be easier to follow other than words. Stay tuned. And numbers on the schematics will make it easier to draw the diagram on a net leader. That'd be very helpful, wouldn't it? Absolutely. Does the finished size include ease? I hate that word. I hate that word. Finished size is finished size. Ease is the difference between your body what your body measures and how comfortable you want your sweater to be. That amount right there, that's the ease. We give you this. I don't care what this is. I don't care what that measurement is. Because you might be, I might measure 40 inches, right? And I might want to knit my sweater at 35 because I want that sucker to be tight and show off my curves. Knit at 35. Who cares what your body measurement is? Measure something you own, figure out what this measurement is, and that's what you're going to knit. That's what our pattern's going to give you, the finished measurements. Pam, hello from Massachusetts. Alessandra, I will tell you when the patterns are updated, absolutely. We'll use our errata system. There'll be a big star on it, a big happy face, something to let you know which patterns are updated. As a matter of fact, you look at that strawberry and you've got numbers on the schematic, that one's updated. You look at another pattern, the numbers are not on the schematic, still the old style. That'll be the best way to know. Nancy said, I've knit a separate strip for a wide sleeve. Absolutely. Just put a pretty bit of lace down the middle of that sleeve. Do something really creative. Hannah said, I couldn't knit without your patterns. Oh my gosh, thank you, Hannah, Hannah, thank you. Yes, Marjorie. Don't split it. I mean, yes, you could split the pattern, you could fudge, and you could split a pattern and knit it into panels. We will produce a pattern for you that says you need 250, cast on 250 stitches. It's just math, it's just a computer. And then you could split the thing and make your own. Yes, you could. Or look for the patterns with panels. All right. Oh my gosh, I took so much of your time. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. Watch for more. Please take a look at the strawberry pattern. Let me know what you think. We do still have our knit along going on, which is neckline shaping, if that's something you're interested in. And as always, you know, I'm here. My goal is to help you be a better machine knitter. And I'm doing everything I can and trying to keep all the balls in the air to make that happen. So until next time, and until new course coming, oh my gosh, so much going on. Till next time, we'll see you soon, and happy knitting. Bye, everybody.